one you can walk around. Did you hear that? It's picking up.
Yeah.
This is the SCI-Arc decoration of 1980. Okay, now this, put in your pocket.
Yes. This,
Here are
the clip.
Here are the, you advance this way.
Tú lo mueves.
Now, do I have a mic, Roger? Do I have a mic?
No, I know you want to free. Will you get another one? I don't think he has any more cables.
You want
May I
this
use
one?
this
Yeah.
first and then I'll give it back to you?
Of course.
That'll be funny. Okay. All right. Maybe we'll just stand together and then I'll hand it back to you. All right, I'm sorry. You want to sit down or do you want to stand up?
No, no.
This is the pointer. Right?
Yes.
An aerial for the car. High tech. Okay. Good evening. This evening we are doubly honored in that we have two very fine architects visiting us here at SCI-Arc from Mexico City. Two architects who have built a practice of very well articulated, well crafted work that has received quite a bit of attention. Two books have been published on their work, which we have in our SCI-Arc library for you to enjoy after tonight. On my right is Abraham Zabludovsky and Teodoro González de León, two men who attended the National University of Mexico. In fact, if you remember when Enrique del Moral was here, he talked about some of the senior students working on the master plan and making contribution to the ideas that became codified in the master plan that was adopted. You may be interested to know that Teodoro González de León was one of those students who worked on the master plan that influenced their professors who were Enrique del Moral and Mario Pani. So he had a very early impact on the environment of his city. After they finished their school, they went in different directions. Abraham Zabludovsky started doing some development work, continuing his architectural education in that direction. And Teodoro González de León went to Paris on a fellowship, worked for 2 years with Le Corbusier, then returned to Mexico and started his own private practice. Through the 50s, they worked independently, and then in the 60s, they began their collaboration. It's very interesting for us to try to understand this particular partnership because the collaboration has not been constant. They have done independent works and they've come together on important works that they cared to share and produced very especially successful products together. And this pattern has continued till the present day, and that's a very unique kind of approach to a partnership, and I wanted to especially share that with you. I find it interesting. They feel that by this kind of collaboration they have kept their association fresh and exciting, and I think it's very interesting. We don't hear about relationships like that here. Their work, as I said, has been honored. The man who is the Ministry of Building and Development, Pedro Ramirez Vasquez, has identified them as exemplars of the younger generation of modern architects who are now doing the most important work in the country. Work that is not only technically excellent, but also humanistically oriented, because while they're using the most advanced technical information, they're still considerate of the people who are using the buildings and the spaces. And so I'm very proud to introduce to you tonight Abraham Zabludovsky and Teodoro González de León. Is that too long? Let's see. Now.
We are going to explain some of our projects, and we ask you for patience because our English is very bad. Respect. Well, we are going to start with a very old work in 1967. It's a housing complex. It was a very good opportunity for us to make this big work. It's a high density complex. We have we have to translate this in acres and not in hectares. Is the surface of the land is about 13 acres and is about 330 inhabitants per acre. It's very high density. We take the solution of 16 towers isolated because we use all the facades of each tower. Each tower is 12 stories high. The north and south facades are with its strips of aluminum. He hide the services, and the other facades are the living rooms and the bedrooms. The complex is designed with two central space in the This one of the central space, they have a big sculpture, urban sculpture, from Mathias Goeritz and from Jorge Dubon. All the parking is all around. This is the Mathias Goeritz sculpture. Another view. That's the sculpture of Dubon in the background. I want to return to the plan. The parking is in the exterior of these spaces. And the second is another building you are going to explain. Now,
Okay. ¿Dónde está? This plan is two buildings that it's in a ravine. It's on a hill. This building is in the up of the hill, and the other is down the hill. I want only to make a small intermission to mention that all these photos is by our nice friend Julius Shulman, and I want to remember that we was walking in these hills, and I was very tired after 10 minutes, and he could walk 1-2 hours more. That's very interesting, no? Yes.
Now here.
Well, this is the two buildings. This building is looking the ravine, and this other building is looking to the street. This building is condominiums, and it's interesting that it's from two different owners. We wanted to make a complex that looks like built together, but it's one was built 2 years after the other one. It was a big fight to decide the owners to have this complex, but we could afford these things. All the angles is 120 grades to open the view to different views of the hill. The condominiums are 3 bedrooms, a living room, a bedroom, and it's interesting that all has the maid's room in the same floor, and it's 2 apartments in each building. We can see the view of from the ravine, from the slope. All is precasted in white marble, and this is concrete precasted. Okay.
See, it's a big complex of housing. What works? It's a complex in the north of the Mexico City, in near surrounded by an industrial area. It's a it's organized in clusters of about 100 and 120 apartments. Each cluster is with its own parking and little piazzas for entrance. We are going to see this a little cluster. In the entrance of each building, there are little plaza with games for children. That's we have different levels it's organized in different buildings of maximum 20 apartments per stair. And we have different levels because all the land is very flat. Something happened. It's also a very high density complex. We have about the same of those we presented before. Is about 350 inhabitants per acre. No? Excuse me? No, it's public. It's from it's for the workers of the ministers of the public administration. That's the different levels of each group of stairs. Another view of the 2, 3, 4, 5 levels. A little entrance plaza. We only put brick and prefabricated slabs, and the strips of aluminum to hide the service, the laundry. We have the little bench to children games. In the entrance of we have another building of 12 stories high. The next one is for you.
Yes.
Delegación Cuauhtémoc. You want to-
Yes. This is the city hall of downtown of Mexico City. It's meaning the city hall of the old section of Mexico. It has a stepped structure to give a movement to the facade and to 2 blocks of different length, and this is a big plaza that is for civic festivals that it's very often came in Mexico, and most of them the 15th of September of each year. There is a big party here, is the Independence Day of Mexico. This is a square in the entrance, and the square continues inside. Inside you can see here, and inside is a terrace and a stepped floor that is give access to all the dependents of the city hall. You can see the stairs here and the bridge that goes to the mayor and goes to the other offices of the city hall. All is with light, natural light. And you can see here, this is the entrance, and this is the inside court, and under the court is an auditorium. The other are offices in the 2 sides of the patio. You can see here the louvers that is gives to the street and to the west to protect of the sun. This is the plaza, and you can see here a terrace where the mayor goes out when the civic activities goes on. The structure is of concrete, and this is precasted. Okay, I will speak about this because it's my own home. ¿Quieres enseñar el corte? This is in a big ravine. You see the section here, and I have here a big problem. The customer was my wife, and yes, and he wanted to have a house in 1 floor, not in a very good place. You understand? It's a very narrow lot that is have a big ravine, and all the combination is in this floor. You have a ramp that goes here. This is the big entrance, and you have the services up, and all the rooms. You can see here the entrance, the ramp. This is a ramp. There is the house, and all the house is a floor below. A floor below. This is the entrance, and here is all the house with all the rooms. You can see a view from the house, from the garden. This is the entrance. This is the entrance. Here is the bedrooms. Here is a studio and the living room. All is concrete, hammered. We began here some experiments about to put marble instead of the regular stone in the concrete. This is a detail of inside.
Okay, that's the embassy of Mexico in Brasilia. We have the chance to do it. The terrain is standard for all the embassies in Brasilia. They have about 110 yards by 275 in the long side. We have a difference level between this point and the other one, about 16 meters in difference level is about 50 feet, the difference. There are lake in this part. In this part, there are a big lake, the Lake of Brasilia. We have three elements to put in the terrain: the chancellery, the residence, and the houses of the personnel. We have 7 houses. The chancellery is in this part, in the avenue of access. The residence is in the middle, and the houses of the personnel is in the other part, in the high part of the land, and with another entrance. We have a regulation in Brasilia to don't put fences. Then we have the need of privacy of each part. Then, because we had to move the land, because the problem of the form of the land, then we made slopes, artificial slopes, to hide the views and to protect each building. And we have these slopes, artificial, you see, that protect from the view of the other embassies who are in the other land close together. That's the entrance of the chancellery. Another view of the chancellery. In this section, you see the position of the 3 elements. Each one sees the lake up of the other one. Another view of the entrance. That's a connection for the cars. It's the entrance patio of the chancellery with concrete. The slopes hide the views from the other embassies. That's the residence in the middle. The terrace of the residence. All the photos are from Julius Shulman. That's a terrace of the residence. An interior view of the residence. A little red. That's the view of the lake. You can see the protection of the views from the neighbors. You can see the neighbors. You only see the lake in the front. Here are the housing of the personnel. That's the houses who are organized around a patio. A view of the patio.
This is a condominium in a very successful area now in Mexico, in commercial point of view, not in the urban point of view, that is terrible, but many people are building here now. This is a place, a regular place in a corner that has different regulations, zonifications from each street. This is the reason to some of the different heights of the building. These 3 apartments in each floor, it's one apartment here, another here, another here. You can see the 3 apartments. This is 1, 2, and 3. Each apartment is open to another view, and this is the north here, and this is predominant closed. You can see all this facade is more closed because it's on the north. All the services in this side. We have 2 penthouses in the up. All the structure are precasted, the walls, and it's a special precasting that this is dark stone and this is lighter stone. The sculpture, only anterior. We have here a very small square that we put this sculpture from our friend Mathias Goeritz to not to allow to put here some advertisement, but we fall in this, and you can see that it's full of this. But it's a landmark, this sculpture, and I think that in Mexico it's not often that private people make some artistical arrangements.
¿Sigues con Infonavit?
Yes, okay. This is a building that is known by the Institute of Fund for Workers' Housings. It's one of the main buildings in Mexico City. It's in a place that here has some construction. This is the reason, because we put this building here, that is the parking building, and we open this square that is close here to a second street and gives you all the views over this plaza and close you the view here, and this opening this entrance to a square that is inside. It's 4 floors because we didn't want to change the view of this section. It's a residential section, and also because we wanted that most of the circulations of the movement of the people was with the stairs and not with elevators. This is the entrance. All the offices is around this square, that this square is a prolongation of the outside square. This square is in 2 floors, in 2 sections. One is 1 floor down than this one. All the offices is here and here, and you can see that all the installations, the offices, is around this yard. The structure is also we work the structure also like to protect this facade from the sun. This is inside. It's also all the structure is, this is precasted and this is casted in the place. This is the back patio. This is the entrance here to the restaurant of the workers. You can see here the section. This is the main patio. The outside, this is the entrance, and this is inside. All this is precasted. All this construction is about 300,000 square feet. It was built in 9 months. It's not very usual, but when we receive an order in Mexico that the president is going to opening in this day, we must finish. That's our problem.
What is the cost of construction for Condominium?
This in this time,
75. No?
75. I think it was about 4,000
pesos
3,000.
meter.
Well, it
Dollars
was
per
another.
now.
In this time, it was 10.
It was
12.
12. Divided by 12.
In this time was about $400 a square meter.
Yes.
Yes. In this time.
Yes.
No, $400.
The square foot. Yes.
$40 a square foot in this time. No. All this is made in, it's casted there. You can see this is the facade to the west, and this water is for the air conditioning. This is the west. This is the reason, because these windows it's open to the north, not to have the sun of the west. This is another view. This is in the south facade. You can see here the structure, columns. It's worked like louvers. This is the parking building. This is another view of the main street to the corner that is north and west. This is the corner west and south. This is a connection that we made for an old building that was the how do you say?
Computer center.
Computer center. It was an old building.
It's not made by us.
This is the corner from the same place. It's stepped not only in this way, but it's also stepped in out to the out to protect from the sun. Okay.
That's the Colegio de Mexico. It's an institution of post-degree social science studies. It's for about 300 students and 250 researchers and teachers. It has the best library of social science in the country. It's a very nice institution, very well known, and we were very honored to make this. We make the same thing in a patio, but it's not covered. It's semi-covered, and we took the example of the old convents in Mexico. All the entrance of all the parts of the institution, it have to be about 50 parts in the institution. All are in the patio, in the central patio. Then the patio is a central point. It's a point of friction. People meet, and people it's together. It's my English paper. Wow. That's the entrance. The patio is open with a wing with a 3, 4, 5 inclination. We love the Egyptian triangle. In the Infonavit also, all the inclinations but made with 3, 4, 5. That's another view of the entrance. We have a beam of 40 meters of span. The same material in the floors, in the walls, in the columns, in the beams. It's concrete with marble chips hammered. The entrance. That's we make the solution with different levels because the terrain was a difference between this point and this point of 2 stories. And then the patio has 3 levels, and the 3 levels correspond to different functions. The lower level, we have the cafeteria and the service for the students. The middle level is the entrance level, and we have the entrance to the library. here, and the library develops in 2 floors down. And the upper level of the patio, we have the research section and the offices, the direction, some details. There's the upper patio. This is the part of the social part, or the lower level, the middle level, and here is the upper level in this part. This is the upper with all the cubicles of the researchers. Another view of the upper level of the patio. This is a little patio in this part. That's the west facade. Another view of this west facade. And a detail. We have something in the other, the Museum of Tamayo. In the other projector. This museum is for the collection who Rufino Tamayo is going to give to the nation. He is going to give 25 pictures from him and 200 pictures he collected all his life from many painters of the contemporary. He's going to be in the Chapultepec Park, is in the middle of the Mexico City. That's the museum is going to be inaugurated in March of the next year. This is not very clear, the projection, but I don't know if you can see. It's a construction with many levels. The central space is a sculpture patio covered, and this section is galleries for painting and another section for galleries for paintings. If you put the next one. That's the entrance level. You enter this point, and there are a promenade in this area for painting with different levels, and each gallery has different levels of size and dimensions and volume. And this is the central patio for sculpture. The other section. The patio is covered with beams at 45 degrees from the galleries of painting. The other one. This is the lower level with an auditorium, a lower level of galleries, and the shops, the cafeteria, and the workshops. In this section, we can see how the treatment of the patio with stepped ceiling of beams at 45 degrees from the galleries of painting. That's the level entrance, the auditorium, and the sculpture patio. There's the office in this mezzanine level. There's different sections in different points, the same of the sculpture patio. Another, perhaps the next one. No, it's the same. It's the same. It's the same we saw before. There's the general plan in the park, the central space for sculpture, and the two sections of galleries and the entrance. He has no parking, it's in the middle of the park. That's going to be finished in 4 months. Thank you very much. Yes, okay. Right.
Señor González de León and Señor Zabludovsky, would you like to ask any questions that you might have concerning the work? We have a little time still.
We need some translation, perhaps, no?
Pardon?
We need some translations.
Translation? No. I would like to ask you if you have some special feelings and observations about this body of work that you've shown us, especially the last project that has some relationship to one another. Anything that...
I didn't understand the question exactly.
So any feelings you have about the relationship of the projects that you've been showing to us?
Well, I think that it's in the last one. I think.
Or the last several?
Well, I think that it's something that it have a big relation. First of all, the material. You can see that we use a material that we experiment in Mexico that give this substitution of the regular stone with marble, give us the opportunity to make a concrete that is very rich in texture and is very rich in his view. In Mexican point of view also, that you must build many thousands of square meters in very few months and very often night and day. You cannot put a condition to have a first quality of concrete. It's not possible. And when you hammer this concrete, you have the opportunity to stop many bad things that it was made by the contractor. That is
very important.
That's a very concrete and a very seriously thing, because you cannot ask the contractor to make a good work if he must to finish in 8 or 9 months. That is very a big problem. And with with this thing, all these systems, I will tell you, if you can see the Museum Tamayo finishing, I am sure that you will never think the terrible mistakes that the contractor doing the work. It's not possible to. But all these things goes out when you hammer, And all the marble, when it goes broken, has some light that is not the sad that the regular concrete has. This is, I think, it was a hard work, but it's successful now. Well, another of the usually thing is how we use the same structure like walls and like floors and like ceilings, because all the material we use to the ceilings, to the floors, to the walls, and also to the roofs, we only change the treatment. Well, I think that there are many things that it's, but this is a few of the things that I remember.
You have a strong feeling about paint as well as color.
Excuse me?
You have expressed to me before a strong feeling about paint and color in relationship to what you just described.
Well, I think that the color is very important, but I think that the color must be in the material, not in putting outside that you cannot control to the weather and to the maintenance. That is impossible. We are very, very careful to use in project things that you must have a big administration or much money to conserve nature. We are very upset about this. Well, we don't mind to put colors inside where we do not have any problem.
I have another question.
Yes.
Each of the previous speakers refers to the Mexican culture in their work. That is, if they work in the modern tradition, in the modern way, that they did it in a Mexican way because of the culture of Mexico from the pre-Hispanic and the Hispanic Arabic and so forth. In your work, you mentioned about the convent. Okay. Is there a conscious effort or a conscious part of your design? I also noticed in the Tamayo Museum, is it a pyramid? Is this a metaphor for a pyramid?
Well, I think the best relation with the past is unconscious. Because if you look conscious of the past, you make a pastiche. You make you see in this time we see many of these efforts. I don't think they are very successful. I think the best way to relate to the past is in a subconscious way, not to be conscious of that. We can learn from the past. For example, the open corridor in the convent in Mexico City, in the climate of Mexico City, is very good because it stands very good. We make complicated things, put corridors closed. We can use the open corridors more cheap and natural and work very well. That's learning from the past.
In your work, most of your work seems to be public work, but in your private work, private clients, do they have a lot of say in the architecture that they want to be created, or is it mostly your decision to what final color will be? Do they have, obviously they go to you because they like your architecture, but what is the interface between the client and the architect? Do they work closely together with you, or is it finally you saying what the actual choice?
But I think the architecture has one half you made, the architect, and the other half made the client, because he put the money, he believes in you. Yes. You have to work with the client, always. When you don't have good clients, your architecture is very bad, because you don't know how to do.
details and relationships has been questioned. No, I was told and I've demonstrated in the times of the earliest work in Kennesaw or Wichita, all the way through the latest work of the two gentlemen, there is no obvious attempt at relationship to past history, because the current architecture in Mexico is no different than the architecture anywhere else in the world. The Mexican architect today, I notice, is trying to learn to use materials. For example, one year, Damas Masters and I were photographing El Rosario, a huge housing project, and all the walls were magnificently bright colored, stucco, plastic. Then I went back a year later to photograph the same project for the government, for a book for the president who was retiring, and I could find no semblance of those buildings that Dan and I photographed the year before. Suddenly I realized all the color had faded in a year. And Abraham said to me when I questioned it, he said, that's why we use brick. Now, this is how we all learn, isn't it? Yes, we can be taken by Barragan's work, or Regaretta's, or anyone else, people who use color, but then, as I observed it, and I can speak very freely, you ask the question, why color if it will not last? I went to Guadalajara to photograph the IBM building. I saw some magnificent photographs taken by an earlier photographer, and I was there for another purpose. There's no color. The question about semblance of form and structure to past periods or color and materials does not hold in Mexico anymore and holds here. You have a contract to do a huge building, government particularly, or say doing a school. If you use plaster or stucco, vandalism, wear and tear, requires X number of dollars per year to refurbish. Brick goes on forever. Stone, concrete, marble goes on forever. Maybe that's the relationship that someone asked a question about. The relationship I noticed all through Mexico in contemporary architecture is not a deliberate attempt to create a temple nor a pyramid, but to recreate the virility. And one point, which I think Abraham and Teodoro did not stress, when I went into Infonavi to photograph that government four-story inner court building, I couldn't help but be amazed at the detail. I couldn't believe that this building was designed and constructed in 9 months. Even a woman couldn't do that much of a job in 9 months. No, but seriously, I didn't want to make a speech out of this, so I will anyhow. These gentlemen do not state really. They're perhaps too modest. I'm not modest. No, seriously. The buildings I saw in Mexico today are magnificently detailed. Really. You think of the craftsmanship of people who have worked with their hands all their lives, and then you come into the sophistication of Infonavi, a building the likes of which has never been done before in Mexico. And yet to put this together, with due respect to the contractors, they did a darn good job.
You want to have in the building? At what point do you think about it? When you first start out, when the building's finished? Do you have the sculpture in mind that you're going to use?
I never think in sculpture.
The incorporation of sculpture.
No?
Yes.
The sculpture, the art. Yes. Well, No, I didn't understand the question. Excuse me. Well, sometimes in the beginning, like in the Plateros project, in the other one,
in the Fuentes,
the tall one, it was later. I think there's no rule.
But what I mean is, do you have an intention from the beginning that you will use sculptural art?
In Plateros, yes. We need something to cover these two central spaces, to amuse something different, to put the work of urban sculpture.
I would like to know the financial conditions. Do you have to have all cash to build, or can you get loans like we get here in the United States?
For the housing projects,
Because when you start building with the owner, does he have to have all cash, or is it being financed? Is it
but it depends which project. The housing projects, there are some very complicated rules of finance and loans. And the public projects like Infonavit and Colegio de México was direct investment from the institutions, from the government. And it depends the building.
Private people, they take mortgage in the banks, like in the United States, of course with another rate of not the same rate, no, but they have mortgage. Excuse me?
what is the interest rate now in Mexico?
The interest rate.
Don't ask about this. It's terrible. You will be afraid. 25%. That is the rate now in Mexico, with inflation. Yes, it's terrible. 25% is the mortgage.
Yeah?
Right.
But that's
Yes.
another problem.
Well, when we built the main project, it was a half. With 2 or 3 years ago, it was 12%, 15. In the last year, it's becoming terrible. But the inflation is so big now that it's worth to do it. This is the reason, because there are a lot of investment in Mexico in properties.
One of you gentlemen worked with Corbusier. What did you,
I don't.
what did you learn from him?
But I don't understand. It's a good question.
Okay?